from beautiful East Tennessee in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. You are listening to the Sherry Voluntary Show, and I do appreciate you spending your time with me. Today, my guest is someone that I think a lot of you libertarians out there are going to be really, really excited about. I know I am. And that is Mr. Kyle Mann. And he is you're the editor in chief of the Babylon Bee, which is a satirical news site. And it was established in 2016 and has around 750,000 followers. So, Kyle, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great, thanks for coming. I just love the content that you guys are producing. I was laughing out loud to myself earlier, just reading through on your website, just the headlines were cracking me up. Like the one, the Ark of the Covenant experience, and thousands dead. It killed me. So many good things that you guys have going on. But so, what's the story of the creation behind the Babylon Bee? What made you guys, or who started it, and what made them do that?
Yeah, we're a Christian news satire site, and Christians aren't typically known for being very funny, and and kind of the conservative movement, and hasn't really been known for being all that funny. But my friend Adam Ford launched the site in March 2016. He was running a Christian webcomic at the time, and decided that he would go ahead and launch a satire site. Similar to The Onion, kind of modeled after The Onion, how they do the headline has most of the joke in it, and then if you click on it, there's more humor to be had in the article. But kind of the headline and the image does a lot of the work for us. So he kind of noticed that The Onion was very left-leaning and very secular. Anytime they approach the topics of religion or politics, it's kind of obvious what kind of angle they were coming from.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily that we wanted to create like a conservative or a version of The Onion, so much as that there was a lot of people that felt like they were being left out of that kind of satire. Mm-hmm. I've always loved that kind of dry humor, and framing it like a news site just does so much for the humor value. And it really works for me. So I've always, enjoyed reading The Onion and dry humor like that. So he launched the site, and we had I started writing for him right away. I was a fan of his on Facebook, and I just started sending him headlines, and quickly joined him and became the head writer, and now I'm the editor. But it was crazy how fast it really connected with a large segment of kind of the internet, that it just took off. We didn't really have any outside funding or anything, and it just exploded, and it's continued to grow. So
yeah, I think that's great. I know, being from the South in Knoxville, Tennessee, you don't have to be a Christian to get Christian humor here because there's so many Christians. It's just, the culture is sort of inundated with Christianity. So I find it hilarious growing up in the church and everything. Some of the church headlines, I've cackled over them because it's so true, and I love that it seems to be kind of poking fun at church culture as well, at some of the sillier things that some churches get involved with, and especially some of the pastors like Joel Osteen and the more well-known big names, I guess, in the Christian movement, and I've really appreciated the satire around some of those kinds of people that have these giant mega churches, and it seems more like a commodity than really
right.
What it's supposed to be intended to do. So I've really enjoyed those kinds of headlines. Do you guys, you don't really, I've noticed in a lot of the headlines that you have, they're not just poking fun at like the left or the right. They're kind of, it's all encompassing. Like the one today that I saw where it said a liberal gets baptized and miraculously emerges from the water in a MAGA hat. I thought that was brilliant. And not only is it sort of poking fun at the right for, being a little too worshipy of the president, but it was also, I thought, that they were poking fun a little bit at how Christians sometimes, right-leaning Christians, will look at people who are of a different political viewpoint than themselves. So I like the levels to a lot of the things you guys have going on. How do you come up with your headlines? Is there like a process or?
I I wish there was a process. We're I was telling one of my fellow writers the other day. I was telling him, that my process is basically to sit at the computer and pray that that a funny idea comes, yeah, comes to me. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the pace at which we write and publish satire is so fast. There's a lot of like, looking at the day's current events and going, well, what do we need to be funny about today? And and trying to, you try to find an angle that fits with a Christian worldview and something that we can stand by and believe in. But you also, I mean, humor pushes the edge, but humor pushes things to the edge. It pushes the envelope, and so you're always trying to find that angle that that no one else is taking. It's easy to just parrot a political viewpoint all the time, and Twitter is so, I mean, Twitter is so fast paced, and
Yeah.
Twitter's Twitter, but as soon as news breaks, there's like, 100,000 hot takes and memes and jokes on Twitter. So it's like, it's really hard as a humor site to go, well, let's do something on that because, I mean, someone's done it already.
Yeah.
So for us to find our place kind of in the internet, we really have to find that unique angle, And so I think my favorite stuff is when we can find an angle that that kind of ties in with from our Christian perspective to a current event, where you find some little known Christian reference and we tie it in with something that's going on and you throw it out there. And to me, that's the stuff that really resonates because, it's something that everybody's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's this angle where people are like, that's the Babylon Bee's unique voice. So
Right.
that's kind of what we try to go for. Oops, sorry, I lost you.
No problem. It seems like you guys have done a
Excited.
really good job of establishing your voice in such a short period of time. I know the first time, it was at least a year ago that I came across the first time I ever saw the Babylon Bee, and it was about I don't remember exactly the joke, but I do remember it was about like the music leader, the person who does the sound at a church.
Yeah.
And whatever it was, I don't even remember. It was so funny, and I started like watching for what you guys had because I really enjoyed it so much, and it seemed to become more political in nature. I don't know if I just wasn't seeing the things that were more political at first, but it seemed to have developed a good political voice as well. So, which I think is great. What do you think the benefits to a satirical website are like that is? Because people talk about fake news all the time, and often I'll have to tell people when I post one of you guys' articles, this is satire, because it never fails. There'll be someone who like gets riled up about the thing, and so what do you think about the place of satire and the importance of it? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we think about a lot. Satire is historically has just been a powerful tool in the hands of, I mean, regular people, to be able to point out things that are going on. And fake news is something where you're trying to deceive. And there's websites out there that are just like, they just make up headlines,
Right.
it's literally, there's no humor. It's literally just like fake news.
Right.
And they get hundreds of thousands of clicks, from that. So, but there's a fine line there. Like satire, obviously, yeah. If you're not paying attention, you could you get suckered into sharing a
Right.
Babylon Bee article and thinking that it's real. But it's something where it's almost where you report the news as it's happening, and then you just add that little twist, And sometimes we add a little twist where you just change one word and it points out the obvious. And sometimes it's it's a big twist. It's something where we do something crazy, that's obviously, or at least we think it's obvious, it's
Right.
obviously fake. But yeah, that's what satire. That's how satire can be so powerful, and that's why it's kind of been disappointing that the far left has really owned all the satirical outlets and all the comedy outlets, for so long. And when we came onto the scene and we started doing humor, we're not really explicitly even a conservative side or a libertarian side. We try to poke fun at everyone, and we try to do it from a Christian perspective. But when we came onto the scene, that was one of the first like complaints we got was like, oh, that's not really satire,
Right.
because you're not making fun of Republicans or something like, and
Right.
people kind of think of it as being synonymous with satire to make fun of the right.
Yeah, I guess
So it
it
was weird
happens
to
so
me.
often that it does seem like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So people thought, oh, well, you're making fun of the wrong people, and
Mhm.
it's weird. So we're glad to be able to use satire in a way that we hope is helpful.
Yeah, I think, I think about the A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift is probably one of the great satirical pieces ever. And, so much of satire has been based on a political viewpoint over the centuries that it's been used. And I think mixing entertainment with a serious point of view in a fun way really gets people to consider it. It takes down their guard. So when people can laugh at something, even if it's at themselves, even if it's directed at them, um, if you can laugh at it, you often don't take offense to it, and it might actually affect the way that you think about a subject. I saw one headline that I posted tonight was about the Democrats are upset with Republicans for giving them a hard time over the tricky infanticide issue. And I thought,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I thought that was so great because it talks about a serious topic, and maybe it'll get people to kind of consider that from a point of view of a person who is pro-life, that is we're looking at it. It is infanticide, and then all the stuff that they're doing, like it's baby murders, and so they have to recognize that maybe it takes the edge off and it takes down that wall of just complete rejection of the idea and so much emotion surrounding it. So I think that's really important. And
Yeah. That's one where we said that the Democrats accused the Republicans of trying to pin them down
right.
on the complex issue of infanticide. And the funny thing about that is that's one of those where we just added the one word like complex, like
Yeah.
on the complex, and that makes the whole thing work, you
Hmm.
know. And it's something where someone could read the headline and go, "Oh yeah, that's just the news." Like,
Yeah.
but then if they stop, then they go, "Oh, they're saying this." They're trying to point out that this is not a complex issue, and we just do it in a way that's packaged as a news headline.
Right.
You're right. People read the headline, and their brain is not expecting humor, right? They're
Right.
expecting a news headline, and then if there's that twist on it, and all of a sudden they're thinking about it, and like, oh, whether or not they agree with it, maybe they can at least think about it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And maybe just takes the edge off where we're willing to listen to the other side's point of view sometimes. I think that's a lot of it is just we get our personal egos involved in being offended that someone's yelling at us about something rather than actually hearing what they say. It's this style and substance that their style might be off-putting even though they have good substance to what they're saying. And so it kind of brings me to asking about hate mail. Do you guys get a lot of pushback or hate mail about some of the things that you put out there?
Um, oh yeah, I mean all the time. I was thinking I could pull it up, but I don't know if I can pull it up quick enough. We got
You
we
could take
did
your time.
one. I I'll try to paraphrase, but we did one about President Trump's wall, and
The
it
clapboard?
was uh, we we did the about person who guy who wants big government, or but guy who's opposed to big government also wants government to build giant wall,
Right.
and
I saw that.
and it's whatever for what it is. Hopefully people can laugh a little bit at that seeming inconsistency, right? And we got so much hate over that, and I got the one guy that emailed us, and he said, gosh, I wish I had it. He said, uh, he said something like, "I see you guys have turned into a liberal rag now," and then he goes, "Also, you hate law enforcement," and then he says, "Go die in a fire."
Wow. Wow.
It was like this one message, like all like rambling together, go down and fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. So I mean, we get that all the time, and I mean, it's from the left and it's from the right. It's not, I know there's kind of the stereotype that the left are the snowflakes, but that's
Yeah.
not really the case. Like, I
Not
mean,
the case at all.
maybe it is the case that the left has snowflakes, but the right has just as many. And
Yeah. The flakes are falling all around.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
As a libertarian, I can tell you that it's, we're involved in that a lot, and just we're such a small minority for one of the political spectrum in this country, and we have to deal with combating issues from both sides a lot of times because we are outside the box of what either solution is. So I've been told some terrible things like that too, and comments about the way you look, or whatever, just these ad hominems and the things that people will call like a libtard because you are on this issue about one thing. I've been called stuff all over the spectrum just because you offer up an idea that's not the one that they're already sold on. So I totally get that. Where you
yeah,
get that.
yeah,
But you guys have developed.
yeah. I wanted to do like we'll do a headline eventually where we've got. I wanted to do something on how if you criticize Donald Trump, you are then you're a liberal.
Yes.
Or if you criticize liberals, then then you're a huge Trump supporter or something. Like it's just crazy. Like no matter what, if you poke fun at the left, it's like someone just randomly brings up like, well, yeah, well, Donald Trump, and you're like, what? I
Right.
wasn't talking about.
Yeah.
So
I
it's so crazy.
I get a lot if I criticize something Trump has said or done. Where were you when Obama was doing it? And I'm like,
Yeah.
Uh, clearly, I'm going to have to explain every time I've disagreed with anyone in politics, apparently, to appease you. But believe me, I was there. I was saying the same thing.
Well, and we get that too, but we weren't even like we were around just for the tail end of Obama's term, and people are like, well,
Right.
where was your article in 2012 when Obama, and we're like,
Right.
well, we didn't exist.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think a lot of times too, it's a matter of like they're not even a lot of these people weren't even for Trump. Like they're not he's not the guy that they would have wanted in there. It's because he became their guy with the little R by his name. And the Democrats do it too. When somebody gets in they don't like, if Hillary would have been elected, you'd have seen the masses of Democrats that didn't love Hillary as well. Just all of a sudden she's their guy and or their gal in that instance, but where you have to back your team. It's like it becomes your team sport, and you have to back your team because they have that little letter. And so sometimes when I point out, well, guys, this isn't a conservative point of view. Like these are not conservative, historically conservative views that he's taking. They just can't. They can't bring themselves to have that point of view that everything that a Republican does is conservative, apparently, to many normal Republicans in the country. So I think it's kind of a shame that people often think, or that if you're saying one thing, like I disagree with this, that you're saying automatically that you agree with the other thing that they think is wrong, when that's not always the case.
Yeah, and you see it. I mean, it's hard for me. The reason the Babylon Bee I think took off so quickly in part is because of it came out, it launched during the 2016 election, and a lot of Christians were trying to figure out where they fit, like in the political spectrum. And so we kind of came out as people who weren't necessarily going to support Donald Trump on every single point. And it was kind of like it resonated with a lot of Christians, who were like, they don't really know where they belong. And I think, I mean, I don't think there's a political viewpoint that's necessarily tied in with Christianity, but libertarianism or liberty-leaning conservatism, I think is almost a natural fit in a lot of ways, just because it's like we want to practice our religion, and we'd like you to leave us alone. It's
right.
It's not because there's any specific policy beyond like Just let us do what we want to do.
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Let's be left alone and we'll leave you alone. We're good with that. Yeah.
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 So it's hard for me to take seriously like a lot of these. It's hard for me writing satire to jump on a lot of the day-to-day criticisms of Trump when the people making the criticisms are just they didn't speak up when Obama did it. They didn't speak up when Bush did it. They didn't speak up when Clinton did it. And
Yeah.
it's like this long string of presidents where you see a lot of stuff. It's like, whoa, these presidents were not pro liberty, and now Trump does something, and it's like all of a sudden we care about the Constitution
Right.
again, and it's just it's hard. So as a satire site, we want to be balanced. We want to attack Trump. We want to attack the left. We want to hit conservatives when they do something dumb. But it's like it's hard for me to take a lot of that seriously because it is so inconsistent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people on the left, especially, they hate Trump so much that they've actually stumbled upon liberty in some cases. it's,
Oh, I
it's
know.
amazing.
I think we ran a headline at one time, maybe, or if not, we need to. But I think we did something once about like, liberals discover the Constitution again, or something
Yeah.
along those lines. It's like all of a sudden they care about it,
Mhm.
and then as soon as Trump gets kicked out and a liberal comes in, the conservatives will care about the Constitution again. And it's just the danger of living in the moment in politics and trying to win these little battles day by day instead of like stepping back and trying to stick to your principles.
Yeah. My friend Michael Bolden, who runs the 10th Amendment Center out there in LA, in California, they work to nullify bad laws and to nullify the federal government overstepping into state territory. And they've done a lot of great work there. And when there's a conservative or when there's a liberal in office, they have just tons and tons and tons of conservatives that support them. And then when there's a Republican, I should say, in office, they have like it dries up. People get angry at them for supporting things that go against the federal government, and it's overreach. So I think that's one of the things that maybe satire can do to point out is people being so blown about in the wind on their own, like they're not principled. If because your guy's in office, all of a sudden something becomes a good idea, that means you don't have principles. You have mental assent to ideas, and that shouldn't be the case. You should be a principled person and stand on what you believe is right and let the chips fall where they may. And if your guy steps in that area where he's outside of your principles, you should let him know that, because we should hold ourselves to that standard first before we expect the other side to all of a sudden do what we want. So I think that's
satire is great for pointing out inconsistencies. Just because of the nature of it, you can point out that contrast so well.
right.
I think we did one a little while back when everyone was upset about Trump's about the Border Patrol firing the tear gas at the
Right.
people that were running at the border. We did something like, Obama criticizes Trump, says that he would have just drone strike to,
Yes.
he would have used the drone strike against the foreigners,
Yep.
and and it's one of those things that I don't know that a lot of conservatives necessarily understood like what that was trying to make a point.
Right.
Like that it was making the point that like all of that is bad. Like attacking foreigners with a drone strike is bad.
Yeah.
It's fun that you can point that out, and then maybe people start to think about that kind of stuff, and maybe some of the stuff we're doing isn't great.
Right. Yeah. I can tell you guys have such a great following in the libertarian circles because of that, because there's this, pointing out that your guy is doing it, but the other guy did it too. And, you can't, that inconsistent mindset where just because our guy's doing it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it all right. And, they're not our guys. Like that's the other thing I think is important, is that we have to recognize the powerful are not our guys. They don't really represent us, at least from my point of view. They don't necessarily have our best interest as the people at heart. It's what will further their political aspirations or get them a great legacy, whatever it is. It has, it's about power and not about actually making people more free, because we have a lot less freedom than we did 20 years ago or 40, 50 years ago in many ways. So Uh, how much staff does the Babylon Bee have?
Um, it's kind of weird. We've got like I'm the only full-time employee, and I'm the editor in chief. I've been doing this for about a year. So I mean, for the first 2 years of the Babylon Bee's life, I wrote a lot of the articles, and I had a full-time job
Right.
in the construction industry, and I was just writing stuff and firing it over to Adam, who founded the site, and then he would get it up on the site, and he wrote some articles, and we had a couple other writers. But I mean, it was crazy because it kind of became this whole powerhouse, and it was basically just two guys writing out of their basements part time, and it really took off. So a year ago, Adam sold the site, uh, and it's been working out really well. He sold to another Christian guy that was looking to kind of get into this kind of thing, and Adam was looking to get out actually because of some of the stuff you and I talked about before this thing started about Facebook and Twitter and big tech kind of having control over all that. It got really tiring for him, to publish stuff, 3 or 4 times a day, putting out articles and always being afraid that your next post was going to be your last because
Right.
because Facebook was going to cut you off.
Yeah.
We got a warning from Facebook that we're purveying fake news.
Right.
And it was crazy. And the only reason I think they ever pulled that off of our account is because it ended up going up on Fox News and some other sites and stuff
Right.
where I think if we hadn't been a big enough name to kind of complain a little bit, there's no way that they ever would have relented from that. So it was really tiring for him to kind of try to do this. And I don't know. I mean, I publish a joke, I publish a headline, and you never really know, like, is this not taking off because it's not funny, or is it because Facebook decided, oh,
Pressing
this
it.
has too many keywords in it,
Yeah.
so it was really tiring for him. So anyway, he sold the site, and basically I took over as editor in chief, and he still writes an article every now and then, and I have two other guys that submit articles regularly, and then we're kind of looking to expand a little. We'll probably bring at least one of those writers on a more regular full time basis soon. We're kind of at that stage where it's like we've got to expand. We've got to become like a real business, because right now it's
Yeah.
me in my garage, and that's it.
Yeah. It's hard when you start something new and it takes off and it's really faster than you were expecting
Yeah.
maybe to happen. And there's so much. I think people who have never done it really don't understand all of the millions of just small to do tasks you have on a daily basis as a small business owner. Um, it's incredible because we don't. I don't have a personal assistant. I would love to. I would love to have a personal assistant to take care of my Twitter because I'm like Twitter moves too fast for me. I don't really care for Twitter. I don't get it. Facebook is more my speed, and so I would love to have somebody just take that over and deal with it, or pick up my dry cleaning or something like that. But
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'd definitely be looking for at some point because I mean, the way we're doing it is it's kind of cool on the one hand because it's like we're taking on some of the big names in comedy. We're getting shared by some big names. It's where the satire really seems to be resonating, and it's just on the power of the content. Like there's not this
right,
big business strategy behind it. Like we want to put out content that we believe in and that we think will resonate with our audience, and it works. But yeah, I mean, like I go like I think most people who are like editor in chief, important sounding title, like they're they're probably sitting in an office. People are bringing ideas to them, and they're green lighting them, and like the guy in Spider-Man, the guy that runs the
right,
newspaper and and smoking cigars, and get me pictures of Spider-Man or whatever. But it's like me, I'm like, I sit down and I'm like, well, I have no article ideas for today, so I better think of something funny.
right,
And then I think of something funny and I type it up and I do a Photoshop and I write the article and I put it on the site, and then I put it on Facebook and put it on Twitter, and then I do that 6 times a day, and it's like,
wow,
and that's kind of our whole process. So it's crazy, but yeah, I mean, we're going to get to that point very soon here, where we're going to be able to expand and kind of, be able to put out a lot more content, a lot more kinds of content. So hopefully people
right.
will enjoy them.
Do you have a quota you have for every day that you put stuff out, or is it just kind of what you can come up with and you want to have so much by the end of the week, or how do you guys do that?
Um, I I have settled into a routine kind of doing like 6 articles a day, and then
Wow.
we try to repost some of our old content from like a year ago. So we'll put up 2 or 3 reposts in a day, um, and that's about what we tend to do. I think about a year ago when I took over, we were publishing more like 3 or 4 a day.
Hmm.
And before that, I mean, it was probably closer to 2 or 3. So we've grown. I think we've improved the content. We've really kind of nailed our voice, and we've been able to expand the volume of the content, which has been great. So, and we were worried that putting out that much might tire people out, but it seems like for the most part, as long as the content is has enough variety,
Yeah.
that people still tend to enjoy it. So
Yeah, it's such an important thing to do is to find your niche when you get started. And I think I'm almost 2 years doing this. I started with a radio show and then into podcasting, and I feel like I'm still trying to find that sometimes. That what is the angle I would take, or who are the guests that I would have on? Because I'm not really necessarily concerned with having the big names of people. Like in libertarianism anyways, which it's a small pond, so the big names are not that big generally, but
half of them
who.
are weirdos.
I'm
You
sorry.
gotta. Half of them are weirdos.
Well,
You gotta filter out the weird. No.
I'm not too opposed to weirdos, but yeah, just what are the people that I want to have on, and why? Like, do I want to have them on because they're going to get me lots of views, and I don't want to have that kind of show. I want to do the kind of show that people want to watch because it's someone that I'm interested in talking to and passionate about what their work is or whatever, and want to promote that as well. So I know that's kind of a direction for me, but it takes a little while sometimes. And I think you guys have done just a brilliant job of doing that. Just, when I could read a list of headlines and probably pick out the ones that are that are yours, because it is that unique in the way that it's presented. So I think that's really great. I was when I told people that I was going to interview you, a lot of people ask the question that they wanted me to ask you was if you were hiring. So with you having said earlier that you guys want to expand eventually, is that something that you would take resumes for, or?
Um, we probably wouldn't be ready to take like a resume, but um, we're always looking for uh, people who can contribute consistently good headlines. Like that's, I mean, any satire site, that's the main like engine for us is to get people who can pump out those headlines. And usually, how it works for us is, and all the guys right now that are getting paid to write for us are guys who emailed us headlines, and just kept emailing us headlines, and you know, and eventually we're like, hey, that's it. I don't know. Part of the problem is that people will send one headline, or they'll send like a half-baked headline to us,
Mm-hmm.
and I get a lot of emails where it's like, hey, you guys should make a joke about worship leaders,
Right.
and it's,
It's nice if you'd send us a
yeah,
joke. Yeah.
yeah. Or, my favorite is we'll get the emails where they'll say, hey, I have a really great idea, and then they'll like put their phone number in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm like, well, I'm not gonna call you.
Right. I get that too. A lot of times,
So
hey, call me. I want to talk to you about something. I'm like, no, I'm not calling
I
you.
have an idea. Please call me. And or they'll even ask like, how much money do you pay for a headline? Here's my phone number. Call me. I have a good one. It's like, come on, like that's not. Yeah.
Right.
But the people that right now are writing for us are like, they sent it like one of the guys emailed me like 50 headlines, in all one big email, and it was like they were all, I mean, they probably weren't all gold, but we ended up using a dozen of them, and I could tell like he understood the voice, he understood what
Right.
we were trying to do. There was complete ideas, and he could actually write the full article, So like I'm like, hey, can you write this one? He'd do it. So he probably did, half a dozen for us for free. Then we started talking to him like, hey, we'll pay you a little bit a month if you just
Right.
pump out stuff for us regularly. And that's kind of how. So pretty much everybody that has ever like gotten paid for a headline from us has sent us a bunch of great headline ideas. So that's the number one way that that you could get involved with Babylon Bee in terms of headlines and stuff.
Sure. So if they do want to send you a headline, where would they send that to?
I think right now we're taking headlines submissions at babylonbee.com
Okay.
is probably the best email address.
Right. Okay. So babylonbee.com is your website, and you guys have a lot of great stuff on your website. I was trying to pull it up here. I was looking, you do politics, of course, and Christian living, celebrities, um, entertainment, and then you have a shop as well where you can get some stuff like a t-shirt, mug, things like that. And I just saw there's a How to Be a Perfect Christian, the book. That's pretty great.
Yeah, we wrote a book with Waterbrooke Multnomah. They published it, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and I wrote most of it, and Adam wrote a lot of it, and he did all the graphics and stuff. And so that's on our website, and you can get it on Amazon too.
Great, cool. And so I know you guys have a new subscription service that you've got up, and can you explain your reasoning behind that, and what people can do if they want to subscribe and what they'll get for that?
Yeah, well, there was a couple of thoughts behind it. Number one, we were kind of talking about Facebook and Twitter and the power that they have over content. And so that was one of our main concerns, is that if they pull the plug on us because a joke goes too far, or they just decide that, they don't want us on their platform anymore, then we're dead, because we rely on them for 90% of our traffic, and that's where all of our revenue comes from, is just from ads on the site. So we offer people the option of paying like $5 a month, and they get to get rid of the ads on the site entirely, which a lot of people like, an ad-free browsing experience. I think we send them a sticker or something too, which is cool. And then there's you were talking about the people who wanted to become writers for us, or headlines and stuff. I think at $10 a month or more, there's like they have access to kind of an internal forum for us.
Cool.
And it's we writers are in there, and it's kind of focused around. Well, we're gonna add some more sections to it, but right now it's kind of the main section is focused around pitching headline ideas. So people will be able to kind of workshop some ideas with us. We've actually published 2 or 3 articles from there already, and we only launched the service a couple of weeks ago. And it's been a lot of fun to kind of comment on and talk with people about it. And they get a little. That's one of the main things that people ask us about, is like a little insight into the creative process and how a headline is formed, and so they get to kind of see behind the scenes behind that. So that's kind of fun for them. So yeah, it's something where we get to break away from big tech a little bit, and hopefully offer something fun for the fans that are a little more hardcore.
Sure. And so if they do want to subscribe to you, go to your website, and where can they find that? I was looking for it on here.
Yeah,
Oh, the subscribe button right in the top corner there, gold subscribe button right by login.
Yeah, the yellow subscribe button in the top right corner, I think, you click on that, and it kind of walks you through the plan. So hopefully that's something that people will find enjoyable.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. This is a great conversation, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And there's a lot of days where I'm feeling pretty fed up with people and pretty burnt out, because, as you know, dealing with politics all day, like I'm more in the philosophy of libertarianism is what I really enjoy dealing with. But you sort of have to meet people where they are, whereas issues, and so you get involved in this stuff, and it can be really, really tiring, and it burns you out. So sometimes when I'll read a headline you guys have, and it takes all that away, because I'm able to laugh, and so it reinvigorates me.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that we like doing it, is because it plays on a current event, but hopefully helps kind of calm people down a little bit. This isn't. Right. This issue that everybody's talking about right now, they're going to forget about it tomorrow. So calm down a little bit.
Yeah, we're all still people. Let's kind of try and be a little bit nice to each other. So, yeah, well, thank you again for coming on. And I wish you guys all the success in the world and all the growth that you can handle. So,
all right. Well, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for listening, guys. If you would like to support the show, you can, of course, go to the Sherry Voluntary Patreon. And you can also look me up on Facebook at the Sherry Voluntary Show, or my personal profile, Sherry Voluntary. There's also Little L Productions. You should go there. We have great shows like Godarchy, which is a Christian anarchist perspective of today's Christianity and topics. You also have Sports Ball, which is about sports, of course, and my show, as well as The Gold Standard with Alan Mosley, which is a really fantastic program. So if you go check that out at Little L Productions on Facebook. Till next time, take care.